we're not missing anybody. And then if there's anybody that I haven't mentioned, then you can give you a chance to introduce yourself. Also here, what we're going, because this is such a weird way to do this meeting. Well, not weird, but unknown to us, really. It's the first time we have tried to do this. I'm going to ask you to remain muted. And then if you want to speak, if you have a comment or a question, please enter in the chat so that then I can recognize you, and then you can go ahead and share with everybody. Okay, so
and just one thing, Liz, if I could just say one thing.
Yeah.
Make sure that when you send your message in the chat that you're either sending it to everybody or everyone or to Liz privately. You can select on the chat thing there from everyone. You click on everyone. I think that's automatic. And you can select on
everyone
the
is
person's
automatic.
name. And so you should select Lizette Biscuits and send to your message or to send to everyone automatically. Okay? Thanks.
Those of us who have dialed in on the phone do not have a chat option.
Okay, well, in that case, you'll just have to somehow let me know that you have a comment or whatever. Hopefully I don't get all messed up and can go ahead and let you speak.
This is Gina.
Yeah.
I just want, because I'm calling from my phone, and in
Yeah.
the upper right-hand corner is like a little circle comment type thing, and if you press on that, it'll give you all the attendees, and you can select and send a chat.
Very good, thank you. I'm more familiar with Zoom, the Zoom chat that I am with GoToMeeting chat. So that's great, Gina. Thank you. Also, guys, I'm sick, so if I start coughing, and I'm gonna go to mute. So just warning you. Okay, so here's the list. Anne McCabe, Carrie Dempsey, Corinne Shanks, Leah Swatko, Tanya Wheeler and Madison Wheeler, Susan Harris and David Harris, Tara Warren, Stephen Phillips and Elise Phillips, Carol Seastrunk, Sherry Butler, Diana Curl, Kathy Jo Kuroti. I hope I'm pronouncing these names right. Chuck Klein, Renee St. Jacques, Betty Williams, Regina Burrs, Cindy Dick, Diane Keaty, Jan Niblock, Kim Edling, Peggy Tunks, Jerry Offox, Jana Hoyer, Our, Golf Gullickson, Susie Gunnifer, Linda Grant, Lacey Curry, Barb Taylor, Liz and Steve Gibson, Judy Schacht, Ann DeChant, Sunday Miles, Susan Ernstrom Roberts, and Linda and Rick Harding. Is there anybody I have not called?
So I think the best way to handle this is if your name is not called, that you should put it in the chat.
Excellent. Okay, so we have already some here. Laura Gibson and Jane
We'll let you know if we're going to be on the call, but we don't have chat.
Okay.
You can just let us know right now. We'll handle it like that. We just got to go.
Laura Abbott with NorCal.
Okay. Valerie McKeever.
Cindy came from ASCA, and I don't have chat either.
Okay. Anybody else?
Carol Durkin. Carol Durkin from Treasure Valley, and I don't have chat.
Okay.
Hi, Pat Rogers from Northwest ASC, Oregon, and I don't have some.
Please
Someone needs
remain
to mute.
mute. Okay, somebody needs to mute, please. Whoa.
Somebody's got background noise going on.
Yeah. Okay, anybody else that don't have a chat?
Denise
Okay,
does not have one, sorry.
Okay. Anybody else? So we have Jane Lips, Laura Gibson, Renee St. Jacques. I thought I had mentioned her. Valerie McKeever, Sandy Hawkins, Susan Byrne is what I got here on the chat.
Liz, can you hear me? Pat Rogers from Northwest ASC. No, and I don't have
Yes.
chat.
Okay. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you.
Susan Severance from ASCA of Idaho.
Okay.
This is Donna Paget from Working Australian Shepherd Club of Georgia.
Hi, Donna.
This is Gail.
I lost you. Gail?
Yeah, hi, it cut out. This is Gail
Yeah.
Thompson from Southern Colorado, ASC.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
This is Norma Hackinson from Central Valley ASC.
Thanks. Anybody else? Are we done? Okay, so
Liz,
I'm gonna.
did you-
Yeah.
Did you have me, Carol Gherkin from Treasure Valley Australian Shepherd Club?
No, I didn't have you as one of the affiliate people, but we know you have to be here, Carol.
There you go, and I have no chat.
Anybody else?
Meet the next artist. My name is Tony Mason. I'm 56 years old.
And Leah Swatula.
Okay.
We started.
All right. I think that it would be best then to get started. And let's see. I think the first thing to do is for the board to introduce themselves to you guys. I know you know more or less who we are, but I think we should do that as well. So Denise.
Denise Krillman from California.
Gina.
Gina Larson from Idaho.
Dan.
Jan Weeson from Washington.
Jean.
Jean Roberts, legal residence in Texas, currently residing in California with an Idaho ID. There you have it.
Oh my. Judy.
Judy Boone from Ohio.
Rachel.
Rachel Vest, outgoing director from Georgia.
Rick.
Rick Gann from Texas.
Warren.
Hi, Warren Evans from Maine.
And Carol.
Carol Gherkin from Fayette, Idaho.
And Carol is our incoming director. And so I'm Liz Busquets, and I'm from Georgia. All right, so let's get started. Like we said, let's just go ahead if you don't have a chat, just try to let me know that you would like to comment or ask a question. If you have chat, please do use it. Okay, so our first thing will be the summary of last year's meeting. Carla?
Okay. So last year's affiliate meeting was held on Tuesday, November 5th in Bakersfield, California. Present were 8 directors, 2 incoming directors, and 12 members. President Busquets called the meeting to order at 6:35 p.m. and we started off with introductions and a summary of the 2018 meeting. President Busquets gave the annual refresher on affiliate responsibilities regarding ASCA's dog aggression rules, conflict resolution protocol, and post-event judge evaluations. Director Vest questioned why ASCA allows judges from other registries to judge at ASCA confirmation shows without meeting the same requirements as our ASCA-approved judges. It was suggested the confirmation committee come up with a test for other registry judges to pass before being allowed to judge confirmation. We discussed issues with judges not following up on continuing education. It was suggested the business office send letters to judges who fail to meet the requirements and provide the process for reinstatement. We discussed ASCA purchasing mats for use at nationals, which is something the board plans to revisit after taking over hosting nationals. And the meeting was adjourned at 7:40 p.m. Thank you.
Thanks, Carla. So the first 3 items are the ones that we always discuss at the affiliate meetings. And so the first one is the dog aggression rules. For some reason, sometimes when we have these incidents happen, we're still not getting all the information from the affiliates. When it comes in incomplete. Somebody needs to mute, please. And so it presents a difficulty for the board when we get these dog aggression incidents and not the whole paperwork is not completed. So is there anything that you guys need from us? Is there some way in which we can help you guys, guide you through the dog aggression rules better, or something to make this easier on you? I think that these rules and the conflict resolution protocol and the issue of judge evaluations are such that probably all the affiliates should revise at least once a year to make sure that everybody that rules on what to do. Sometimes we have found that some of the people that are working as, say, stewards or show secretaries or something are kind of new in some ways to actually doing that kind of work. And sometimes they're not quite up to date in what these rules and all this paperwork, all this paperwork entails. So I think it would be a good idea for the affiliates to, take one of the meetings and go through the paperwork and make sure that everybody that is going to work through the events is aware of the rules and the paperwork. Are there any questions or comments about the dog aggression rules?
This is Gina. I have a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to kind of reiterate on the dog aggression rules. It's the affiliate rep doesn't necessarily have to do it. Anybody that's on the showgrounds that is bitten by a dog needs to report it to the club, whether it's their president or just a member. It needs to be reported and it needs to be sent to ASCA. And that's just basically, I'd like to reiterate that. And you should tell your members that. Thank you.
Thanks, Gina. Anyone else with a question or comment?
Liz, this is Denise.
Yes, ma'am.
Everybody needs to know that at every show, the conflict resolution rules are there, the dog aggression forms should be there, and when you ask the steward or show secretary for those, they must give them to you. So be sure that you get that, take pictures of the whole incident and talk to witnesses and follow the protocol on that dog aggression rules. But that is your right to have that. So be sure that if you're the club host, that you have all those forms on hand. And if you are a participant and something happens, be sure you check with the show secretary or steward and fill out the appropriate forms. Thanks.
Thanks, Denise. Anyone else?
In
Okay, then
the chat, we had a couple of people.
how come? Oh, here it is. Okay. Hold on. Oh, I see Debbie Martin is here. She has joined us. Anne McCabe, yeah, Leah. So, okay, so Liz, do you want to talk about your suggestion here about maybe having a seminar on YouTube describing the dog aggression issue?
Sure. I think that would be something very appropriate that ASCA could whip together fairly quickly. And it would just basically go through step by step. If a situation happens, what the club needs to do, or what the exhibitor or person that got, excuse me, injured can do, and have the form, go through the form step by step by step. And I'm going to mute because my dogs are barking.
Okay. Yeah, that's a pretty good idea. And you're asking if it will be appropriate for this to be made as an announcement at the beginning of every trial and show. I don't see why not. Susan, you also had something?
Yeah, some things that we need to be real careful of as club members. Even if the person doesn't want to file a report, they have to file a report.
That's a good point, because maybe, sometimes we have gotten a couple of those cases like that where, the person doesn't want to, they don't feel, oh, it's nothing. And then something happens later that the board finds out what happened. And so you do have to put it through the paperwork. Even if the person really doesn't want, the club needs to put the paperwork through. So Susan Severance says that it should be mentioned at handlers meetings. Yep.
We mentioned that last year at Bakersfield, that's something we
Yeah.
should do. And I've been to several different things, stock mostly, but other competitions as well. And it's something that's not, because with my situation, I had one happen several years ago, and I didn't even realize it was a thing. Of course, now as an affiliate or as maybe an officer, we become more aware of it. But I think the general public at our competitions may not even know that this is something that needs to be mentioned, let alone reported.
Yeah, that's a good point, because we always have, new people coming to the events that are not aware of, everything that, all the rules and everything. So things like that probably should be mentioned at things like handlers meetings or so forth. And you had something to add?
Well, Susan gave the example of that even if the person doesn't want to fill out the form. I had a similar example where it was the person's own dog that bit them. So it's
Right.
like, well, I mean, want to do it. It was their own dog, but and so it was an agility trial, and we were going back and forth. And yes, I mean, we were contacted by the office, and that was something that now we know that that was a dog that bit a person at a trial, even though it was his owner, and it still has to be reported.
Liz,
Yes.
this is Debbie Martin. I just have a comment on, if possible, people that don't want to report the dog bite incident. I think we also need to have something in place to protect someone. I was bitten by a dog a number of years back at a show. I did report it, and the people threatened me with a lawsuit because they said it was defaming their dog, even though the dog bit me with no provocation. So I can see why people would be a little hesitant to file a report, and that's just my experience.
Thanks, Debbie. Yeah, that would be a difficulty for sure. I mean, I don't know what kind of, base they will have to sue anybody that has been bitten, especially if there are pictures and there are witnesses and all of this. But I know that, some people do things like that. And we still, we also need to think about, the next person that's going to get bitten by that dog that got through the loopholes. So we have to be very careful, very careful. And one thing that we need to remember also is that a bite is not necessarily an automatic DQ. And, the board always looks at the whole situation and sees what happens, which is why we need as much information as possible in that paperwork. If we don't have the information, it's very difficult for us to make the right decision about, these incidents. So please have pictures, have, witnesses, and try to get those as quickly as these things happen, because otherwise, if you wait, you may also, get people that are not recollecting things, so like I said, the board needs information to be able to make the right decision. I believe, okay, so we're getting the question here, is this only for dog and person, or do we need to report dog and dog? I think that aggression towards another dog could also be an issue. And so if it's an attack on another dog, I think it should also be reported.
Yeah, that's section 2 of the dog aggression rules, deals with excusals. And so any dog that attacks another dog is supposed to be excused. If a dog attacks a person, then they're disqualified. That's kind of the difference. But it's kind of described in the aggression rules. Section 1 is about the disqualifications, and that's for any attacks on a person. And excusals are really focused on the dogs unless it's really egregious. So I would take a look at those. They're pretty informative.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions on the dog aggression rules? Okay, so I think Kala has taken a note on the suggestion by Liz regarding a YouTube seminar. So we'll see what we can do about that. So let's go on to the next one, which is the conflict resolution protocol. And with this one, we've also had situations where not all the paperwork has been filled out. Not all the information is there. We've had some instances when people wanted to put something through the conflict resolution protocol and they weren't given the paperwork, or the paperwork wasn't on site. And so those things can't happen. That paperwork comes to you with every packet. And if for some reason the business office makes a mistake and doesn't send them, the show secretary or the show coordinator or the course director, they should be able to print those out and have them on site, because people who want to put in for a conflict resolution must be given the paperwork, and that has to be, done right there and then. And the board also gets those, and sometimes we'll have some people asking, that the board appeal, the decision of the affiliate, and so without information, the board really can make the right decision. It's the same problem with the dog aggression paperwork. So, any comments or questions on the conflict resolution protocol? Jane, you hold on. Jane, can you explain? I'm not sure what you mean here on the chat.
What I was trying to come across quickly was maybe a notation in the premiums for the events could be listed, a notation or something about dog bites and ASCA's policy, so that people who aren't familiar with ASCA and ASCA's rules would easily be able to read that.
Okay. I think the affiliates could always put a note in there. But the thing is, let me think about this. I think what would happen, I think that Valerie is correct. I think that what she put in the chat, I think that if we do put something, hey, stop. If we do put something on the premium, it will have to be the same everywhere, because these are, ASCA rules. But here what Leah is saying is also true, that, they already agreed to abide by the rules and bylaws. But, the thing is that not everybody reads the rule, before going to a show. I mean, that's just the way it is. They're not even, those of us who, some of us who have been doing this for a while, have been ASCA members for a while, not all of us read the rules and keep up with them. So it is something that is a problem, I think. And so, yeah, Linda here's, yes, it will have to be put as a template. Yeah, premium template. That has come up before. And I know that we have a list of things that are supposed to be in there or whatever. And I don't know, maybe I can try to talk to Ray about having a template we'll see what he says. I mean, maybe they can figure out how to have a template.
Liz, this is Laura
yeah.
Abbott. Just a quick question.
Yes.
This is Laura Abbott with NorCal.
Okay.
Personally, we have so many requirements that the clubs have to put so many different things on our flyers that our flyers are going from being one page. NorCal's flyer is 4 pages long now. So, and I know the other clubs are in the same boat in our area. Our flyers are going to get so long, nobody's going to read those. So we're going to constantly have people that I think we're going to end up having so much required information that it's going to get lost. If, you know, NorCal, I'm happy on behalf of NorCal if we need to put a sign up that says, you know, dog aggression rules will be, you know, ASCA dog aggression rules will be enforced. I'm happy with putting that up, but I can tell you with the COVID, we had signs everywhere around our showgrounds, and I still got questions about people asking the most basic question about COVID that was on a very detailed bullet pointed sign. I just don't want to keep putting more and more on the clubs to have to include data that it's just, you're talking about volunteers that are having to maintain these flyers and do these flyers, and they're becoming really cumbersome. That's just my personal, because I'm the one that does it for our club. So that's just my feedback.
Yeah, and I do get what you're saying. I mean, and this is another thing. It's like, you know, how many people actually sit down and read the whole premium? I mean, not a lot of people do that. I don't think. I think Laura just put that in the chat. I think that the thing is that the information, rule books, all of those things, all of those rules need to be available for people. I think if you make an announcement at the beginning of the trial weekend or whatever, to try to make people aware of it, you know, make sure you read, you know, your conflict resolution, make sure you read your, you know, I think that, I mean, we're always going to have problems with people not reading them. I mean, there's just no way that we can make sure that everybody is aware of the rules. So I think it's up to the clubs sometimes when these things happen to kind of reassert themselves and say, hey, you know, this happened. This is what we need to do now. You know, with the conflict resolution protocol, I know that I have added something about the conflict resolution protocol in just about at least 50 or 60% of my president messages, and we still have the same problem. People don't know what to do with it. So I think that you know, if you at the beginning of the weekend or the beginning of the show say, we have the rules here for the conflict resolution and for dog aggression rules, make sure that you know, you take a look at them or look at them on the ASCA website so that you're aware. Because it's difficult. It's difficult to make people read them, and it's difficult to make people abide by them.
Liz, this is Rachel. I have a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
Regarding the dog aggression rules, I think that this is one of the reasons that we bring this up every year to our affiliates, because we want our affiliate clubs to be aware of it. In terms of putting it in print anywhere, I really wouldn't advocate that, because I don't want other people, especially coming in from the outside, to get the idea that Australian Shepherds are an aggressive breed. So I think it's sufficient for the affiliate club to understand the process. I think it's okay to put up a YouTube for the affiliate clubs and members to be able to watch, but if we were to add some verbiage somewhere, I would certainly want our attorney to provide that, because we need to be careful in this day and time about what we say about dog aggression. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel. That's a good point. Yeah. Gina?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I think, you know, I will volunteer myself, and a lot of our directors are available. Our phone numbers are in the Aussie Times. If anybody at a show or a trial has a question, give somebody a call if you don't know how to deal with it. Thank you.
Yes. Any more comments? I think that yes, I think we've all had those kind of calls, and we don't mind. You know, the important thing is that the rules are followed, and we rather be, you know, called in case of a if the affiliate is in doubt or anything. We'd rather be called than then later find out that, you know, we haven't done something according to the rules. It makes it more difficult to fix after the fact. So, so yes, please do take advantage of that if you are in doubt of anything. But you know, I think, like I think Rachel's point was well taken, that, you know, as long as you have the rules available for people to look at, and as soon as, you know, as long as the affiliates are aware, the workers working the event are aware of the rules and how to act in case of, you know, some incident, whether it is between two competitors or is a drug aggression situation or whatever it may be. You know, the affiliate, you know, the people who are there in the trenches, so to speak, need to know how to deal with it. And so that's why I think that the main thing here is to make sure that everybody that is working an event knows how to deal with this paperwork and with this kind of incident. Anything else on the conflict resolution protocol? Okay, so if there's nothing else, we're gonna go on and go to the judge evaluations. And yeah, this is just a reminder that the judge evaluation forms are there for each event, and they should be returned, filled out. They should be returned to the office, filled out. And so what Kala does when she gets them from the office, and she just files them away. And if there is some kind of pattern, she usually will let us know, let the committees know anonymously. So so that the committees can know that a certain situation is going on with the judges, and the committees can then, you know, look at whatever that is and try to come up with ways to address the problem. It may be an education problem or something like that. And so please do return that paperwork to the office with your event results. So any comments? Yeah, I see. Yeah, agility is a little different. Yeah, the agility committee gets the judges' reports. So any questions or comments about the judge evaluations?
Liz, this is Ann McCabe.
Yes,
I for Sherry, I agree, and I've had another instant where there has been a questionable evaluation, not the standard, it was wonderful, it was great, which is 99% of the time. And I have had good interactions and good feedback, and I felt that my comments were heard. Both, I've had an incident with the agility committee when something came up and I was contacted and was able to talk about the situation, and then also with a confirmation judge where I was contacted by the office. So there really, I think there is a good system in place for that, and it made me feel good that my voice was heard for these judges.
Any other comments?
Liz, this is Janie Lips.
Hi, Janie.
Hi, if I write a not so rosy statement on a judge,
yep,
something that is possibly even serious, should I hear back from anybody?
Well, it depends what kind of, serious situation you're talking about, because if you're talking about actual rule violations or incidents, those have to go in the conflict resolution protocol, okay? But if you're talking about, say, during a confirmation show and the judge gets lost, just doesn't know who's who or what, or is being or just any judge in any event who is being mean to competitors, or things like that, I think that you should be able to put that in there. And like I said, depending on the situation, sometimes Kala will look at something and she will say, this looks like maybe it needs to be looked at by the committee, and she usually lets the board know and lets the committee know that something is going on with a particular judge. I mean, those of us who have been show coordinators for some time, have had to occasionally write evaluations that are not great. And so,
Because
it happens.
I had to write two serious remarks about two different judges at nationals when I was the chair for I was the chair for rally, and I never heard back from anybody, and they were both pretty serious incidents, and I never heard back from anybody, and I see that both of these judges are still judging.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering, because I never heard back from the committee, and I even told the committee, the rally committee people at that time, what was going on and the whole bit, and still I don't know of anything that was ever done. There was never a follow-up.
Right. Well, I don't know why that happened, but if it's something really serious, there should, usually be some kind of follow-up, either by the committee, or the board, or the show. Like I said, it all depends on what the situation was, where maybe the club itself can actually do something at the time of the trial or the show, or if it's just something that
But one of the
needs to be looked at later.
Right. One of the incidences wasn't found out till after the show was over, but the other one happened during the show, and both of them were really serious. And I'll get in touch with Kala and see if she has any notes from that. But yeah, I was just wondering if there was a follow-up requirement or anything that to know, because I haven't seen any restrictions or anything on the judges, and they're both still, judging.
Right. Was this nationals or was this finals?
This was 2015 nationals, and
Nationals. Okay.
it also resulted in the first place team being disqualified after nationals was held because of the incident, of one of the incidences with one of the judges who
Okay.
allowed somebody to enter a dog that wasn't even entered.
Okay.
And never even brought it to my attention.
Liz, this is Judy.
Go ahead, Judy.
I can shed some light on some of it. A lot of it depends on whether those judge evaluations actually go to the respective committees or not. Agility was the only committee that had it in their rules that they would get the judge evaluations. So a lot of the other committees did not receive those. They actually just go to the office gets them and puts them in the judge's file. And that's pretty much the end of it. Unless somebody makes an actual complaint, a lot of times the board doesn't hear about it or the committee doesn't hear about it. So committees actually need to work on their rules and direct the office to send them all evaluations that they get, not just problems, but all evaluations. The Agility Committee gets not just judge evaluations, they also get the evaluations that the judges write about the clubs. So you get both sides of it. If there's a problem, and it can be investigated at the committee level. Basically, the board doesn't hear anything unless it's something major, serious, somebody's convicted felon, things like that.
Yeah,
We
something
don't
really bad. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's something, you could ask the committees, or, I'm not sure that the board can do that. We can't just instruct committees to do things or write stuff. But if the committees want it, they can certainly ask to have all of those evaluations sent to the committee so that they can review them. That's one way to do it.
Sure. Thanks, Judy.
Thank you, Judy. I had no idea that Agility was the only one. On one of the problems that happened at nationals, the committee chairs were notified right away, and there was nothing they could do, even though there was video evidence and everything. The second incident happened, of course, after nationals, when I was doing the results, when I found out, what had happened, and nobody said a word to me, during the show. So that's why if you look at the results, the first place team doesn't exist in the pictures in the Aussie Times. They had been, taken away. Their award had been taken away.
Okay. Well, I think that in some way these evaluations need to make their way either to mostly to the committees, but in serious situations to the board. I think that somehow maybe the I don't know, Carla, has the business office been sending you the forms on a regular basis, or are we not getting a lot of affiliates filling them out? Do you know?
Nope, I get them on a regular basis from the office, so it would be really easy for them to copy the committee chair or the designated representative when they email them to me. So if committees want to start doing that, totally take that on. It'd be easy for the office to do it.
Right. So there you have it. Yeah.
I have one more thing. This is Judy.
Yeah, Judy, go ahead.
I just want to stress to everybody in the affiliates that this is not necessarily meant as a punitive measure. This is an opportunity for our committees to educate the judges where they have slacked off, whatever it is they've done. It's a good way to educate them with rules they might not be aware of or they misinterpreted. This isn't meant as strictly a punitive thing. In some cases, yes, we do need to investigate because there's been something egregious. But for the most part, it's sent to the committee, and the committee has the chance to educate the judge, so it never has to go to the board. That's what it's for.
yes, this is not like I said. Most of the time, what we hear is, judges that are doing things that somehow, they've forgotten a rule, they weren't aware of a rule change, or things that they need to be educated on. Very few times, the board gets something like really bad about a judge that really needs to be, taken beyond the education. It happens, but I don't think it happens very often. But I think that it would help if, the committees were willing to look at this on a regular basis. And, if they get a copy from the business office when these come in, they can decide whether, somebody needs to be educated on something or not, or if it's something more egregious, whether the board needs to get involved. Okay, so anything else on judge evaluations? All right, so we're gonna go on. So there are two items here that are kind of related. The COVID-19 impact that you guys had. We want to know how things are going, how impacted you've been by this situation, whether things are improving or not, what kind of problems you're having. And at the same time, we want to discuss whether you guys are using the 30-day deadline that we put in place temporarily, whether it is something that you have used and that you need for the time being, or whether you think that you're getting to the point where you're not going to need it. So I will open it up to comments from you guys to tell us, what's going on out there, whether you guys, how you guys have been impacted, and whether things are improving, etc.
Liz, this is Anne.
Go ahead, Anne.
So in terms of the 30-day versus the 60-day, for us here in California, for my club in particular, it's just been a matter of rescheduling. That our May trial has become our August trial, and that was canceled. Now it's our December trial. So everything was all sanctioned, and it's just been pushing forward. And as Susan just mentioned in the comments, that was another thing I was going to say, that it's not about that. Yes, we would like to move forward. Yes, there have been trials and they're ramping up a little bit, but here in California, it is really hard to find sites because they are county sites or city sites, and they're under restrictions that we can't have shows. Sites are expensive here in California. So that has been a hindrance. Overall for my club, in terms of our year of shows, we just had to cancel one agility trial. Everything else has been rescheduled. And I do have to say, the one thing that I really wanted to point out, that the ASCA's decision, even though it wasn't entirely announced, to waive the educational requirement for affiliate clubs for this year. And then I have also heard that they've actually waived the trial requirements for this year, was the exact right thing to do. And that it helped my club tremendously, and there was just no way we can do that. And so that's the way for the affiliate clubs to move forward, be able to be clubs for the next year. And I think that was a really good thing to do. Thank you.
Okay. Leah, you wanted to say something?
Yes, I'd like to add that in Canada, the parts of Southern Ontario and Lower Mainland BC are the only areas where we could actually have events held, and they have to be outside because we have to have limited amount of spacing and numbers of people within a specific area, plus masks and distancing is required. We just had a show a couple of weeks ago, and that worked out very well, except that a CKC show bumped their event to outside and moved it further from ours. And so it was like an hour and a half away. So we didn't get the 15 dogs that were entered at that show to come to ours. So that kind of messed us up. We are also limited by the number of judges that we have in Canada, both in pretty much in all events. And pretty much we are shut down now for the winter, just because it's going to be too cold and miserable outside for anybody to do anything. That's all I have.
Okay. So of course in Canada you guys are having trouble, getting the judges.
Yeah, we have a limited number of people in Canada that are judges for all events like confirmation rally, stock trials, etc. But the thing is too is that we're very spread out. The closest affiliate club to where I'm living right now would be in Thunder Bay, and that's a 12-hour drive away to the north shore of Lake Superior, which I am not doing in the wintertime. Thank you.
Right. I understand. Yeah, the issue of the judges for places like Canada and Europe has been brought up to the board. The problem with the judges is that it's gonna take, the committees are gonna have to work on that, because the board can say, oh, let's just get whoever wants to judge and put them in the to judge rally or judge confirmation. I think that has to go to the committees, and the committees have to decide what kind of requirement we would have for these judges that can temporarily be allowed to judge for ASCA, because how do we know that they know our rules, things like that. And the problem is that in ASCA those things, and I'm going to admit it, those things take time. And I'm not sure, I mean, winter is coming, so maybe who knows, but ASCA just takes time in doing things like that because, like I said, they have to go to the committee. So we'll have to see how we can deal with it, and what the committees say about it. Maybe we can help you guys out in some way. Until these travel restrictions go away, I mean, the people in Europe or Canada are kind of like stuck, and you understand that.
Liz?
So yeah.
This is Sunday, Miles.
Hi,
from
Sunday.
me. And we are in much the same boat. I mean, I haven't been to a dog show in a year. That's like, oh my God. But we have been having trouble. We kept re-sanctioning and postponing and re-sanctioning and extending. And it's just been horrible. And when you do get something you think is going to go, sometimes you can't get judges to come because of this COVID stuff. They don't want to get on a plane. It's too far to drive. They're going through bad areas of outbreak. So it's just been hard on everybody. And our venues are expensive as well. But we have been under government order or governor's orders. We can't have a group of over 10 people. I mean, how are you going to have a dog show? So it's hard, and I appreciate ASCA's working with us a lot on all the paperwork back and forth, but hopefully we'll all get it back in 21. That's all.
Thanks, Sunday. Yeah, Yeah, some states have different. I'm pretty sure some affiliates have had it a lot worse than others because it depends on how bad the situation has been in their state.
Crazy.
So yeah.
Liz,
This is Laura with
ASCA.
Legacy.
Oh, sorry.
With Legacy. Sorry.
I heard a lot of stuff here, so I'm gonna need to know who it was.
So this is Laura Abbott with NorCal.
Okay, go ahead, Laura.
As far as the question you had about the 30-day, I think that's been working great. It's definitely helped in the fact that we've had some difficulties in getting spots and getting locations and then having those locations fall through and having to kind of scramble to get new ones, and not having to sanction as far ahead to allow us to kind of be a little more flexible. I would personally hope that ASCA, the business office, I know they've really pitched in and really done a great job in responding to those requests. If at all possible, until things return a little more to normal, if that flexibility is still there for clubs, I know we would really appreciate it, because we're trying to look at the calendar and having to move things that we don't know whether or not we'll be able to have our normal shows because of the locations those shows were supposed to be at.
Yes, thanks, Laura. We definitely know. I mean, some affiliates have really been taking advantage of the 30-day rule, and I know that Ray has told the board that there have been many affiliates that have used it. The problem is it's a balancing act, right? Because as we start getting more and more shows, hopefully, the business office is going to come to a point where it can't keep up that easily with the 30 days. So at some point, we're going to have to do, either, go back to a 45 for a while and then go to a 60 eventually. But I think that's why we wanted to ask you guys how that was working and whether you still needed it, because we needed to know, what the situation is before, we make some decision. So, so it's good to hear that you guys have taken advantage of it, and then it's still working, and it's good to know that you think that you still need it for a little bit longer. And you got something, and the chant.
Unmuting, sorry. I guess what my thought is because some of the clubs are getting really out of whack or not even being able to have shows, I think I'm worried that we're going to lose some of our dates that we've had for years and years and years because we didn't use them this year, or we're not going to use them again next year if we're still under these same COVID constraints. So I think we should be very careful about trying to allow clubs to preserve their age-old grandfathered weekends and dates. That's all.
Thanks, Ann. Yeah, that's a good point, and I have to admit I hadn't thought about that. But yeah, we will have to talk to the office and make sure that they keep the same dates that the clubs have always had. We can only hope that next year things get better and we can get back to normal. Maybe maybe the thing to do will be for the office to make sure that they sent the dates, and we make a list to make sure that everybody has those dates, to make sure that the business office has them. So maybe the thing to do would be to have the affiliates write them up, all their dates that they usually have, and get that in a list, and we'll make sure that the business office has that, make sure that there are no mistakes, errors, or whatever.
So if we just let them know that we intend to use those dates next year, and then we may not be able to, but if we, like, let's just say some of those things that other people described happen where
Right.
the fairgrounds or the grounds of one sort or another fall through because of COVID restrictions in that state, and the club asks to move it to another date, just let the office know that you intend to keep your standard dates, even though maybe you're canceling a show or moving one. That might be the way to handle it.
Right.
Okay, I'm done. Liz, Sunday again.
Right. Go ahead, Sunday.
Our affiliate reports are due into the office not too long from now. And I intend to write on the bottom of mine, since we had nothing this year, that, all intentions are to maintain our dates, as they have been for many years. Because we have regular dates, or holiday dates that we do use, and then every now and then we put in an extra here for April or October. So that's another way of handling it. Just write it on your yearly report that your intents are to keep these dates going. And also with certain clubs across the country being able to have multitudes of shows and others not, I think that's going to really open up the door to a lot of standings pain from different people that are trying to compete but don't always do the dog and pony show across the country with handlers and stuff. So interesting to see how that'll come about. That's all. Thanks.
Thanks, Sunday. I think that what's going to happen is that some of these requirements about using your show days, or you lose them, or whatever the case may be, those kind of requirements are going to have to somehow be waived, because this is just not a normal year, and we can't blame or punish the affiliates for something that is out of their control. What we want is for affiliates to be able to get back to normal when they can, and resume business when they can. So I think that we're just, some of these requirements and stuff, we're just gonna have to just waive them.
Hey, Liz, this is Rachel.
Yes, ma'am.
I think Sunday's idea was excellent. If the affiliates would send that in with their affiliate paperwork, and to make it easier for the office, they may want to go ahead and list those dates that were their dates. That would prevent the office from having to look it up and make sure that there was no doubt about the dates that were their dates, just to make it simplified for everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. It's for the affiliates to put in their paperwork and just make sure that they send the dates, the list of the dates, and send it to the office, so that the office is aware. And we're certainly going to tell them that all those requirements are waived. So
Hi, Liz.
that should be no problem. But just to make sure, I think that you guys need to send information with your renewal letters or whatever. Yes, Kala.
So Ray and I have already talked about this, and I've already let a lot of affiliates who've contacted me or Ray know that the office is definitely waiving all those requirements. So you just have to let them know, and they've already kind of started that for affiliates.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the office has really been trying to really work with you guys. They've been trying very hard. So do send the information to them, and we should be okay. Somebody wanted to comment?
Yep.
Yeah,
Liz,
Liz, this is
the thing with ASCA. I don't have chat. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No problem. Go ahead.
With ASNI, we have, like Canada and Europe, we also are very limited with our judges because we have no stock or agility judges in the region. So we've had none of those events this year that we've been able to fit in, or we've had to use judges that we had scheduled and ask them to leave us an option for next year. The other problem that ASCA is having, because we're covering 6 states, is that the rules on one state may be different than the rules on another state. And it's not just how many people can attend an event, but we also have closed borders sometimes depending on the positive rates. So if someone was to come from one New England state into another, they might have to quarantine for 14 days before they can attend an event. So that made the decision to hold some of our events very hard. So we have had a lot of cancellations this year. We have been able to take one show and move it later in the year. Like Canada, we're coming into the winter, and we will probably see a decline in anything we try to do. But I think what it has helped is maybe a little awareness of trying to promote some local people to become to go through the judge's application, whether it be agility or stock or whatever. But the people that we have available are just not there because we can't bring them in. And that was one of the real deterrents to our events. But the other was the multiple state regulations made it impossible to even do a half-an-hour drive to get to an event without having to quarantine it, prior. So we're hoping for better next year, and that's how we'll go. The only thing on the show dates is maybe if we had a temporary rule to extend that to 2 years rather than the previous year. Thank you.
Thanks.
Liz, this is Diana Curl out of Arizona.
Hi, go ahead.
Hi. Anna had brought up on chat, and I was going to also bring it up. Since judges are so hard to come by because most of them either can't fly or want to drive 12 and a half hours to get somewhere, is maybe getting rid of the 2-judge requirement for half a year or whatever. Allowing judges to repeat assignments since they are available, that we can at least hold some events, but just with same judges. I don't know if that's an option or not.
Well, it's an option, but again, I think that has to be brought up to the committees, because the committees are the ones who should go ahead and make those changes or make those allowances for the next whatever months or whatever. It is something that I have notes here on that, and it's something that maybe the liaisons to the committees can go ahead and bring up to the chairs, and maybe and hopefully the chairs can work on this fairly quickly to see what we can do, because I know that in some places there are some judges, but you will have to, again, like you said, use them more than once, and people will have wouldn't be able to compete because they already have however many legs or whatever under that particular judge. So yeah, I think that the liaisons probably will talk about it in the board, and I think that we can bring it up to the committees, and hopefully the committees will have something that we can do about it. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to read here the chat to see what else. Okay, there are Valerie's asking a question about sanctioning paperwork. There are specific ways in which any changes like on location and stuff like that is done. I think if it's a location, it will probably just be a matter of putting something up to the business office, and the premium has to be changed. With the judge, however, I think there is a specific form that has to be filled out for changes, of the judges, and that's the case no matter what. I think that's one of the reasons why the affiliates, kind of have been taking advantage of the 30-day thing, because they have been able to, not have to be changing the judges all the time, because they're able to actually get them, pretty much, only 3-4 weeks ahead of time, rather than, having to plan with, months ahead of time. And so, yes, there is a specific form for it. Yes, a freeze on grandfather dates. Yep. Okay. I don't think I have missed anything here on the chat. So the most, yes, confirmation has specific, rules about how to do a change. Okay, so what we have here is you guys would like to have the 30-day for a little bit longer, and you would like to keep your dates, make sure that those grandfather dates stay as they are, and you don't lose them because you weren't able to do the shows this year. And then the issue of the judges, the 2-judge requirement for some of these events, and then to be able to bring in some judges from other organizations or something to do some temporary judging for us. So is there anything else that you guys think we need? Is there any idea of when you guys would like to, like, say, go back to 45 days?
Liz, this is Judy.
Go ahead, Judy.
What we would like in some ways is a little bit irrelevant. I think it should depend on the office when they possibly move up to, they are now doing 50% of the trials that we normally did before COVID, then maybe we could go to 45 days. And when they're back to doing 3/4 of the trials that they did before COVID, then they could jump back to 60 days. So I think it just would depend on what the office is doing right now and how much work they have.
Yeah, and Ray has told me that so far they have been able to handle it. The only problem with the 30 days, of course, is that it makes them put down, put everything that is 30 days then has to be put at the top of the pile, and everything else then has to wait. So sometimes they have to like drop whatever they're doing, and then go and take care of the 30-day, because obviously, you know, they have to do that right away. So, you know, basically what's happened is that, you know, a lot of clubs are basically cutting in line, and we understand why. But the point is that at some point, you know, it's going to be hard for the business office to keep up with that 30 day. So we might be able to bring it back to 45, but you know, yes, it affects the calendar too. Yeah. It's hard to put things in the calendar in time also. So if you guys are doing the 30 days, you really need to make sure that all that paperwork is coming in, like, you know, clean and perfect, because Ray has also told me that sometimes there are mistakes in the paperwork or the premium and stuff, and then they have to go back to the club, and so it makes it even worse for the business office. So I guess we'll have to, you know, talk to the office, and we know that you guys would like to keep the 30-day for a little bit longer. We're already at the end of October. I don't know how many shows we'll have here in the next 2 or 3 months, being winter what it is. But we'll have to go back to the office and see how long we can keep the 30 days. Leah, I'm not understanding your question.
Okay, let me explain. What I mean is that would not my regional requirements say I'm in a COVID hotspot? Well, Southern Ontario is a COVID hotspot right now. In the north, we're not. So ASCA is a global enterprise, so they have to look at what is applicable in that particular area where the club is looking for sanctioning for an event. So say that it's a hotspot and the 30-day is going to be the maximum functional timeline they can work on, because things have to be adjustable and flexible with what's going on. But if, say, they're in a lower populated area with lesser COVID cases, they would have a more relaxed timeline, and therefore they would definitely be able to go to the 45-day. Understand?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, the issue with that, of course, is that I'm sure some affiliates will complain, well, but, you know, we would like the 30 days too. So it's hard to do something for a club in, say, California or New Hampshire, and then not do it for one in Texas.
Yeah,
it comes with some kind of problems all the time. So
excuse me, Liz, but do we not already have different point schedules from different areas?
Yeah.
So kind of, you know.
Yeah, but sanctioning is not. That's why, you know, I think that if we keep the 30 days for, I think that what should happen is that if there are clubs already, you know, that still have problems, it's gonna be difficult to bring it back. So if say, you know, clubs in Canada are having trouble, would have trouble with the 45-day, then I don't think that, you know, we could just say, well, we're just gonna make them 30 and everybody else 45, because then somebody in California will say, well, we have problems too. So I think that's why we're gonna have to balance everything out between what the business office needs and what you guys need to make sure that everything is fair. We're not, I mean, I'm not saying that we're just gonna cut you, you know, and send you back to 60 days right away. I'm just telling you, we're already, you know, we have to think about it. And that's why we're bringing it up, because we need to know what your situation is. And at the same time, also, you know, let you know what the issues are with the office. So, you know, like I said, it has to be the same for everybody. So when we either keep everybody at 30 and, you know, for the time being, and when we decide to go back to 45, we'll have to do it for everybody. But I think that the thing is to keep the communications open, okay? So I know that the affiliate meeting only happens once a year, but you guys should be telling us if you're having specific problems, right? So that we know, because otherwise we can make a decision and then later on you guys, you know, tell us, whoa, wait a minute, you know, we're still having this problem. So I think that you guys are going to have to, what I'm asking you is we're going to have to go ahead and let us know what the situation is with you. And so, so that we know more specifically, you know, whether whenever we decide to change it, it's not going to be today and it's not going to be tomorrow, but whenever we decide to change it back to 45, we know that you guys are ready for it and that the business office is also ready for it, okay?
Yeah, that's fine and fair. I understand.
The group called the Lincoln Project for ads.
Thank you, Liz.
In New York City, appearing
Okay,
to show the couple
thanks.
utterly dismissed.
Okay, so, all right. So now we have an idea of what's going on with you guys in the 30 days. Anything else about, anything else related to COVID or something that you think the board should know?
This is Denise.
Yes.
In California, Idaho, Utah, Arizona, there have been several shows, Oregon, Washington, and they've done, for the most part, I think they've done a really good job. Each time it gets better and more, quote, normal to do the mask thing and the sanitation and the in-gate, out-gate, that sort of thing. And I want to commend the clubs all over who have handled this very well. And just remember, to the public, presentation is everything. And whether you think that masks are important or not, it is important to have the public see us respecting that rule. And so using masks in the rings and the spacing outside of the rings and masks during the pictures, I think is vital to the acceptance of continuing our dog shows. So I would encourage the affiliate to maintain that perception of the COVID rules. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thanks, Denise. Anything else on the COVID situation? Okay, so now we're gonna go to unfinished business or new business, and I see that Susan is bringing up the California areas. I know that Denise had put in a motion before, but many people thought that we needed more information. Is there anything that you want to say, Susan?
I would like to find out what additional types of information the board needs. I'd be happy to spearhead that and get it rolling, but I don't know what else you need.
Well, I guess shoot. Right offhand, I don't remember what those were. Does anybody remember? Denise, do you remember what they were?
One of the comments was that if it has to be for all different, all of the venues, but the reason that the topic, if anybody doesn't understand, doesn't know what it is the erasing the border, the boundary between the central and the north areas of the California affiliate clubs. And it was a really narrow area, and oftentimes, and they're very close together, so that the clubs can't, with some of the venues being restricted and have to cancel locations to have a show, they may have to go further one direction or the other, and that takes them over that border, which really is only a matter of a couple of miles oftentimes. And so I think Susan was indicating that they had to move a little bit north, their central club a little bit north, and it puts it into the northern area, and then everybody has to, approve and that sort of thing. And the topic was also brought up, and I did talk to Rick Pittman about this today, that it used to be within 200 miles of another club's event on the same day. And that was something that we were going to talk about and review. I know on the board we were talking about that. So as far as I know,
yeah, Delta's in a unique situation too, because all of our shows are held in Turlock, which is technically in the Central California area. But in the past, about half of our shows were held in the northern part of California. We're not sure when Delta was put in the Central California region. That's never been explained to us. And I was told that to continue to be able to have shows in Turlock, we have to stay in the Central California region. Now, Turlock is the cutoff line, and it's 20 minutes from my house. So I could have shows above Turlock if I was in the northern part, or Turlock and Turlock South if we're in the central part. Most of our shows are held north of Turlock, and it makes it very difficult to ask clubs, hey, can we, get permission to have a show here? Also, the thing that we run across is because we are central, we could have a show on Saturday with Rally and Obedience in Turlock, and they could have a show in Livermore, which is less than 60, well, it's about an hour drive north of us, the same day in Livermore. And then nobody gets good entries. So it's made it, and there's not enough, there used to be more shows in Northern California than there are now. So it just made sense to do the split 9 in Northern California, 7 in Southern California. So that's kind of the lines we were thinking. We were not trying to cross into other people's, where they have their shows. It just makes it really difficult for me to find a venue if my fairgrounds are locked down.
Liz, can I say something to that? This is Gina.
Just wait a second. Okay, Gina, I'll give you the com here in a bit, but Jean had asked for the com first, so I'm going to allow
no
you
problem.
to speak, and then I'll come back to you. Okay?
Okay.
Jean?
Yeah. I just I think when this was originally proposed, there was some confusion on the list and different things about what this would affect. And this is specific to show hosting and show locations, which is what Susan was just speaking about. And what Susan is speaking about is exactly why there's confusion. And that confusion is really not just in California. For instance, somebody could have a show in New York State and right across the border have one in New Jersey, and they could possibly be only 10 miles apart, but because they're in separate states, that is perfectly legal according to our rules. So most of our clubs try to work together, of course, because we all want a decent entry. The confusion comes when, as Susan was speaking about when Turlock became a central as opposed to a northern as to whatever, because the computer system does not have a method generally to say, hey, this club is hosting, I can't remember if it does now or not, but you know, it's basically up to humans to go, hey, this club is hosting a show out of their area when it comes to the state of California. When it comes to actual states, like if a club that's based in California were to put in a show location that said Arizona, the computer would recognize that and would say to the human operating the computer, hey, you need to check with this and make sure they have permissions because this isn't legal. But when it came to Nevada and to California with different areas, that is strictly human checked on. And your area for your club is supposed to be based on where you incorporated with ASCA.
Then we're in the wrong area. And
it's entirely possible. But let me finish, please.
Well,
Well, let me just finish, because what I was going to say is because this was human checked, that was not always adhered to, which then leads us to the problems we're having today. My club was a Central California club, but as affiliate rep, I lived in Southern California. But our club was incorporated in Central California, regardless of where I lived. So I think one of the ideas behind this whole thing was it would make life easier for California if we just did north or south. But I also support the board and the affiliates discussing the 200-mile rule, because realistically, I think that is probably a better way to determine your entries, because most people are not going to drive more than 200 miles, depending on the show and the judges, of course. But that way, you know, a show in New Jersey could not happen within 200 miles of a show in New York or Pennsylvania, or, you know, or Florida and Georgia. It couldn't just be right across the state line. And so that's all I wanted to say, was how we got to where we are today, and the fact that there's humans involved in this, the whole equation, which is why we have clubs right now that have been hosting shows for years outside of their quote unquote area. And it's not just in California. So that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Okay, I'll let Gina speak now, and then I think we'll close this. Go ahead, Gina. I'll talk.
Okay. I basically was going to say what Jean had said. The motion was pulled to rework it. It's kind of got put on the back burner, I think, because we got so busy with so many other things because of COVID and nationals and all that. But I still have it in my notes to rework it and to talk to Denise about it. I was very much in favor of dropping boundaries and making a 200-mile rule. So in any event, I just want you to know that it hasn't been dropped. It will be worked on. So, and if we're going to end the meeting, I would like to thank all the affiliates that have attended this meeting and given us your input and your ideas. I think it's fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Liz.
Okay, I wasn't necessarily going to end the meeting, but I think at some point, you know, this is a California issue for the most part, and so there are a lot of other
yes,
stuff.
ma'am.
So I want to make sure that they get the chance if they need to say, bring up something.
Liz, I'm on a cell phone driving, so I can't send you a text. But this is Diana with Gold. I'm with Gold Country Australian Shepherd Club in California as well. Our club is about 3 years old is all, maybe going on 4 years, I can't recall. But there is an issue along with territories. I can tell you because our address is Mariposa, and the way the line runs across California, we originally thought we were Central California, and as it turns out, we were pushed into Northern California. So we all had to drive 3 hours to go put on the show, and we got, everyone helped, worked with us, and we got that changed. So we're all good now, but there is an issue in California with clubs. I know a few clubs have closed in Southern California. I don't know if they'll come back, because clubs sometimes do. But for us in California, it seems to be, for me, the grapevine. The grapevine and the mountain range there is really what separates people from traveling. People will travel throughout from the grapevine north or from the grapevine south. Occasionally you'll get the people that cross over. But because of locations and not being able to find locations now, we do have to spread out a little bit more. And I can tell you that the affiliates, when I tried to have a show outside of the northern area, one of the affiliates stopped me and just said no, flat out no, wouldn't cooperate. And when I sanctioned a show one time outside the area, I got turned down by the office. So the office is doing a good job looking at that. They're just not sanctioning shows without knowing where we are. So it is an issue in California, and I really would appreciate the board looking at that and maybe turning us, I missed the first part, Susan, I'm not sure what you asked for, but for me, turning it back into 2 territories, I think would work for everyone. That's all.
Liz,
thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Liz, this is Ann. If I could just make a quick comment. Number one, I think the motion presented is a good motion. I think there was a lot of confusion on what it meant. And people were like, oh, well, that's not true. That's not true. And I understood the motion. Denise explained the motion to me, and I agree with it. I think it needs to be explained better. Other thing, just in terms of the distances, that obedience has a 200-mile rule. So whatever regions and whatever anything like that, there are some venues like obedience still has the 200-mile rule regardless of regions. So in that way, it's good. But yes, it's a California issue. Yes, that's a small part of the world of ASCA, but I would be happy to work with Denise and Susan and Diana to get it presented in a way that the membership and the board understands it. Thank you.
Thanks, Ann. So I guess they will be working on it, and you heard Ann, she's willing to help if you guys need it. Guys, meaning Gina and Denise and whoever is working on this issue. So now if you'll allow me, I will go on and I will ask if there's any other unfinished business or new business that anybody wants to bring up. Okay. Are there any announcements? Oh, wait a minute. Donna? Go ahead, Donna.
Yes, I just would like to make a comment as far as the finals for 2020, and to make a broad statement to say that there are several finalists in our club, and since I do represent them, I would like to make that to let everyone know that we are really, really, truly unhappy about the way the outcome of the board vote was, and that I do appreciate Rachel and Jan for standing up and making their comments about it. But I just would like everyone to know that we are definitely unhappy at this time about that. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm not sure that the affiliate meeting is the right place to talk about the finals. I understand that some affiliates probably have more finalists than others. You know, I believe that this issue is has been brought up and is going to be brought up at tomorrow's meeting. And I think the membership meeting is the more appropriate meeting and time to address the finals. I know that there are a lot of people that are
Liz?
disappointed. Yes.
Actually, the reason I did bring it up was because this is the affiliate meeting, and I do represent my club members. So, you know, I'm not trying to be, you know, I'm not trying to be cause problems. I'm just needing to let the board know, as an affiliate representative, I do represent my members, and I just needed to be able to express that. So,
yeah, we'll take it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so this issue of the finals is going to be discussed tomorrow at the membership meeting. So I know that a lot of people are unhappy. I know that, you know, it was not a unanimous decision, but we'll just see how the discussion comes tomorrow, and that's all I can say about that. We'll see. We'll discuss that tomorrow. Any other issues? New business? Any announcements? Okay, if there are no announcements, I guess we would like to have a motion to adjourn.
This is Denise. I'll motion to adjourn the 2020 affiliate club meeting. Thank you.
I could second that for you.
Okay, a motion on the floor by Denise, seconded by Jeannie, to adjourn the 2020 affiliate meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, we're adjourned this meeting, and thank you everyone for participating. This was great. The discussion was great, and I really appreciate how so many of you, you know, showed up. And I hope that we'll talk to you tomorrow as well. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you and Carla. Very good.
Yeah, thanks, Liz. Appreciate it. I hope you feel better.
Thank you.
Good night, all.